a friendship that'll never ever end.
Run!
It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Reaction Beanie Yo 593. Day in that neighborhood. My brothers and sisters. It is Thursday once again, Bean Team. And we're about to go back to who? Kyle from Dire Trip. Back to Dire Trip, y'all. And the title of the video is, this 340-pound foster mom sat on a boy as punishment and killed him. 11 strange and dark cases. Now, I'm just trying to figure out, y'all. I'm trying to get it in my brain, man. How could a 340-pound woman sit on a child as punishment? You know what I'm saying? And say that it is punishment. I'm putting it in quotations because for me, long story short, short story long, it sounds like freaking murder. It sounds like you was murdering that little boy. You know what I'm saying, man? But I don't know the full details of the story. But we're about to get them, and we're about to check this whole video out. But before we check it out, my brothers and sisters, y'all know what y'all got to do. Get whatever you might need. Get what you need, please. We are back to Kyle from Dire Trip. Y'all got what y'all need. Y'all ready to go? Then let's go.
Hey there everyone, and welcome back to another Strange and Bizarre Cases compilation. This is where I take all of the really interesting cases that I come across that aren't really long enough to be their own video and talk about them all at once. With that out of the way, let's get started.
Get whatever you might need.
Here we have boy crushed to death by 340-pound foster mom after she sat on him for misbehaving. Here's a case that really highlights what some may call some big problems with some players within the foster care system. It's a case that just recently has sparked both a lot of outrage and a lot of mockery. Out in Indiana, the story all started when a 10-year-old boy named Dakota Levi Stevens was placed into foster care. He was placed into one family where it seems things went well until being placed into another. This time, he would be under the care of a woman named Jennifer Wilson. Jennifer is a very angry woman who is both small and large, being 4'11" and weighing 340 pounds. That's about 150 centimeters and 154 kilograms to the non-Americans. Despite being so short, she was still an intimidating force for a 10-year-old. Dakota himself was 4'10" and weighed about 90 pounds in comparison. One day, not too long after being placed with Jennifer a month prior, Dakota ran away from home. He ran to a neighbor's house, saying that his new foster mom had punched him in the face. According to Jennifer, he had been acting up and refused to do his chores, so it's likely that is why he was hit. Dakota asked the neighbor to call the police, but she didn't do it. Soon after, Jennifer drove up and started screaming at the neighbor, telling her to mind her own business and demanding that Dakota get back in her car. When they got back to the house, Dakota initially refused to even get out of the car. However, this changed when he decided that he would make another break for it, getting out of the car and screaming that he was leaving. Jennifer then tackled Dakota to the ground, hitting the pavement on the driveway together. She then, saying that she only wanted to hold him down, laid down on top of him. As Dakota was being crushed, she called his caseworker on him, telling him that he was acting up, saying that he wouldn't do his chores. Throughout the call, Dakota continued to scream until his screams gradually got quieter and quieter until he stopped making noise entirely. She immediately accused Dakota of faking it until she rolled him over and saw that he was entirely pale. She
Fake? faking it. How could he be faking it and your big ass on top of him? That little boy can't breathe. How could he be faking this right now? See, this right here is so freaking crazy, y'all. And I don't even want to go into a whole tangent about this, but I just got to bring it up. We have watched so many of these videos about how these foster parents abuse their foster children. And I just feel like, dude, no one forced you to adopt them. No one forced you to have this child in your life. And now that you have this child in your life, this is what you do to him. Like, how do she think that this is just holding him down? How do she think her big 340-pound ass is not on top of this little boy, squishing him to death? Not even being funny, being dead ass serious, man. What the freak? What is wrong with her? How do people like this even get approved to be a foster parent?
She then decided to try to perform CPR on him. After that didn't work, she finally decided to call 911. The ambulances arrived on scene shortly and airlifted Dakota out to the hospital. They noted that he was unconscious, not breathing, and had visible bruising all over his neck and chest. While initially alive, he couldn't handle the injuries he sustained and passed away in the hospital 2 days later when the decision was made to take him off of life support. An autopsy was performed and it showed that the cause of death was severe swelling of the brain and prolonged oxygen deprivation. He had also sustained some heavy organ damage as well as bleeding in the liver and lungs. The death was soon ruled as a homicide. When the police came after Jennifer, they said that she told them Dakota had been acting up and seemed visibly distraught. Footage from a Ring camera was taken, showing Jennifer lying on Dakota's neck and head as he screamed. The footage then stopped and returned again as Dakota's screams were fading. Once Jennifer realized he wasn't moving, she started angrily yelling "Dakota!" at him repeatedly. Then she instructed another one of the 3 children in her home to call 911. Jennifer's foster parent license is suspended and currently under review so that it can be revoked entirely. Once the death was determined to be a homicide, a warrant was placed for Jennifer's arrest. She was taken into custody during a traffic stop, charged with reckless homicide, and placed into custody, where, as of the writing of this video, she remains.
And where her ass need to stay. Long story short, short story long, man. She need to be locked up for the rest of her freaking life. Like, I just don't understand. Like, and then she, like, how she was trying to justify what she did by saying, oh, he was acting up. He was acting up. First of all, you wrong for punching him. First of all, you shouldn't even be punching him. Oh, he acting up. So I punched a little, well, I think he 9 years old or something. Oh, I punched a little child in the face because he acting up. No, spank him on his ass or something. But don't do that. And then you just went all overboard. If she would have been sitting or laying or whatever on me, you know what I'm saying? She would have killed me, my brothers and sisters. And she did that to a child. Like, her big 300, I know I keep bringing the damn weight up, but her big 340-pound ass could lay on a lot of adults for a certain amount of time and they stop breathing. You know what I'm saying? I just don't understand how she could even think that what she was doing was okay. Lock her up for the rest of her life. I hope we get an update one day from Kyle or somebody on that one. I'm gonna have to try to stay up to date on that one, y'all, because I really do feel like she needs to be locked the F up. That's homicide. That is freaking murder. Let's go to the next one. I'm already heated.
This one is, man kills 4 relatives, says he was on shrooms. It's not really all too unusual for people to blame their crimes on drugs. In just another recent compilation I've had, I covered the story of a woman who stabbed her boyfriend to death and then blamed the whole thing on marijuana psychosis. This case is fairly similar to that, but a lot more grisly and uses different drugs. Here we have a very strange man, a man that neighbors described as scary and aggressive with a look in his eyes like a crazed bulldog. This man was Shabazz Rajaboev, a guy who was seen as such a loose cannon that his family didn't even let him out of the house too often. One man who knew him said that he used to smoke a lot of weed but had since graduated to harder drugs, adding, "When he smokes and does other things, he can't control his anger." It seems that his family kept him from wandering around his apartment building because he scared the neighbors so much. One neighbor said to the media that Shabazz was called Narco Man, adding, "Very good family. They live together. Mother, father, 2 sons who are brothers, and the brother's wife and their 2 kids. Very good family, but everyone knew him. He is a narco man." He got himself arrested for assault in 2023, but the charges were dropped for reasons unknown. After a while, he started telling people to call him Sensei for reasons that nobody besides him really seems to know, as he gradually lost his mind more and more. One neighbor who did manage to see him said, "You could tell something wasn't right with him. He stopped smiling, stopped saying hi. I asked him if something happened, and he said, yes, something with my dad. He didn't elaborate." One day, Shabazz decided to take a few grams of mushrooms. Afterwards, he went into a complete frenzy within his family home. Neighbors heard screams erupting and children begging for mercy as he took out a knife and stabbed his 56-year-old mother, Fezidva. He then strangled his sister-in-law, 27-year-old Maftuna, and then stabbed her 2 children. He wrapped his mother up into a blanket and threw her down on the ground. He then put the 2 kids into a laundry bag and hid them in the closet. He left his sister-in-law on the ground where she fell. Shabazz then simply walked out of the building. A resident was outside smoking when he saw him leave, seemingly having blood on his face. Then shortly after, Shabazz's brother showed up, asking the neighbors, "Have you seen my family?" He began to panic, saying, "My mother is on the floor, there is a lot of blood, my family has disappeared." 911 was called, and when the police arrived, the father took them into the apartment. Meanwhile, Shabazz had actually called the authorities to tell them about the corpses in the apartment himself. While the police reviewed the gruesome crime scene, Shabazz actually came back of his own volition. He screamed to the police, "I'm innocent, arrest me, it wasn't me." He frantically told the police that he didn't know what had happened because he had just taken shrooms. Shabazz was taken into jail in order to be held without bail, where he still remains. Shabazz told the police in a video statement that he didn't know what had happened, once again reiterating that he had taken 2 grams of mushrooms. Either way, he was hit with 4 charges of first-degree murder and 4 charges of second-degree murder. He was then sent to jail to await trial. Shabazz's lawyer...
I just gotta say, man, I don't believe Shabazz. I don't believe him at all as far as like he didn't know what happened. Maybe he was on the shrooms, and I have never done shrooms a day in my life and don't plan to ever in my life. You know what I'm saying? But just for him not murder 1 person, but to murder 4 people in the way it was carried out, at some point in time, man, in your brain, you had to know what the freak you was doing. And it really, all that is beside the fact. Even if you didn't know what you did. You still did it, so you're not innocent. He said, "I'm innocent." You're not innocent, bro, whether you knew you did it or not. But I feel like he knew what he was doing, and he just wanted to blame the freaking shrooms on it. Let's go. This is wild, man. These first 2 are they are infuriating.
Has refused to comment on the case. Shabazz still claims to be innocent despite his violent reputation and the mountain of both hard and circumstantial evidence against him.
Crazy.
This one is, 12-year-old Tennessee girl smothered her 8-year-old cousin over an iPhone. It seems that just recently there have been a lot of cases involving really young kids committing murder for some pretty trivial reasons, and this case is definitely no exception. Out in Humboldt, Tennessee, we have one of those very rare cases where someone who wasn't even 13 years old has been charged with full-on murder. This is due to a fight that occurred on the evening of July 15th involving who got to use an iPhone. The argument was between a 12-year-old girl and her 8-year-old cousin, Demiria Hollingsworth, as they came from out of town to visit their grandmother. Demiria's mother, Rayana Smith, said that their grandmother had sent the 2 to bed after the argument, where they shared a bunk bed together. After Demiria fell asleep, her 12-year-old cousin sneaked into the top bunk, grabbed a wad of bedding, and aggressively used her whole body weight to smother the young girl as she slept. A security camera inside the house was able to capture the whole thing on tape. Afterwards, the older girl did her best to clean up the scene, arranging everything to make it look like her cousin had merely stopped breathing in her sleep and hadn't just been smothered. She cleaned up the bedding a bit and repositioned her cousin before going back down to her own bunk and acting as if nothing had happened. The girl was arrested and charged with both first-degree murder and tampering with evidence after the authorities saw the video that they called disturbing. The police came to say, "I consider this to be one of the most disturbing violent acts committed by either an adult or juvenile that my office has prosecuted."
Yeah, this is very disturbing, man. For me, just because of the age of not only the murderer and the victim. You know what I'm saying, man? It's both of them, 12 and 8 years old. And I feel like she need to be charged with murder too, y'all. As sad as that is to say, but it is the truth, man. She did the crime. She got to do the time. Even though at 12 years old, I don't even think that she I ain't gonna even say I don't think. She not in the mind frame of an adult because she not an adult. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is a young adolescent who did this to her cousin. And I really strongly think if she was 22 years old, she would have never killed her cousin over an iPhone. You get what I'm saying, man? She was just so young in this situation. And yeah, y'all ever heard of the term young and dumb? She was young and dumb, but boy, this is just one of those mistakes you can't make. I hate it, but yeah, she got to be charged for murder, and I feel like she got to do a lot of time, y'all. I don't know if she should get life, but she got to do a lot of time for this.
The police decided to petition the judge to prosecute the girl, who was just under 13 years old, as an adult, which would allow for a much lengthier sentence. Whether this was done through incarceration or through supervised and court-ordered conditions, they felt that she deserved the heaviest sentencing that she could get. The victim's mother agreed, hoping for the maximum punishment possible. She told the news media, "Last time I seen my baby, she was smiling, giving me kisses, telling me she will see me when it's time for her to come back home. She's never coming back home. She's never coming back home." She organized a GoFundMe page to raise money for the unexpected funeral expenses. It quickly raised over $14,000, greatly helping her out with the unexpected loss. She wrote, "I never imagined anything like this would happen, and now I find myself trying to fund a funeral."
That's tough, man. That's a tough one, y'all, just because of the ages of them. Whew. May God just be with her family, the mama family, and may her little girl rest in peace. And may God be with the little 12-year-old too, man. Because she's so young, y'all, I can't really just blame it all on her like that. I know it may sound like I'm making excuses, but that's just how I feel, man. But she do got to face the consequences. I will stand on that. Let's go to the next one.
Now we've got, woman's daughter held her down while grandson strangled her to death. This story involves an elderly 81-year-old woman named Cleo Ann Loizides who was living at Commonwealth Senior Living in Norfolk, Virginia, a senior living center. For reasons unknown, her daughter Heather Cummings and her grandson Clifton Cummings decided that she needed to die. The two plotted to drive out from Indiana all the way out to Virginia to make this happen. The two entered the old folks' home where they found Cleo. Heather held her down while Clifton took a strap from a bag he was carrying and began to strangle her.
Time out. Why the freak did they just feel like she needed to die? Like, why? Well, I need an answer, Kyle, down trip. I need an answer of why, bro. Unless it's like Mike with the freaking life insurance. Do the life insurance, Dan. For y'all that know, you know what I'm talking about. Is that what it is? Like,
she struggled, Heather calmly told her, "Just let go, it's for the best." The deed was done, and the two then left the building. Eventually, just before midnight on June 30th, the orderlies came in to find Cleo lying unresponsive and called for an ambulance. The police came out and went over the scene. Cleo had long since died, so there wasn't really much they could do. An obituary for her listed that she was survived by her 53-year-old daughter Heather and 24-year-old grandson Clifton. Little did anyone know they were responsible for the whole thing. It began to come to light when the medical examiner ruled on July 9th that the death was undoubtedly a homicide, seeing marks on her neck consistent with strangulation. Both Heather and Clifton were found to be the most likely suspects in the murder. They were taken in and pretty quickly gave complete confessions. Both of them were thrown into the Norfolk City Jail to be held without bond. Both the mother and son are now being charged with second-degree murder. Heather tried to reverse the decision so that she could get out on bail. She decided to go the pity route, showing up to her first hearing in a wheelchair, with her attorney saying that this was due to arthritis and Crohn's disease. Her attorney asserted that she grew up in Hampton Roads, having no prior criminal record. The judge, Michael Beverly, determined her to be a flight risk and denied her application for bond. Clifton Cummings never did appear in court. His attorney just decided to forego a bond hearing entirely. Instead, they're asking for a sanity and competence evaluation.
Man, man, evaluate both of y'all ass to prison. That's what I'm gonna evaluate you to. Fucking prison, man. That is so, and we didn't get a why. We didn't get a why, man. And with these stories, man, Kyle can't go into a lot of details. You know what I'm saying? If he really wanted to go into detail about this specific story, he'll make a whole video about it. So I kind of get it, but it's like, dude, why? Like, I can't let it go. Like, why the freak did they do that? I'm probably gonna be thinking about that the rest of the night. And it's her mama and his grandmama. Like, what the? She just living out the rest of her days in an old folks' home, and y'all come do that. Let's go to the next one.
And now we've got Dad left his 15-year-old daughter strapped to tree for 3 days for wetting herself.
What?
Now let's...
Hold on, man. Hold on, man. I ain't expect we were gonna go this crazy with it, my brothers and sisters. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take it back 10 seconds just so we can hear Kyle read the title of this story one more time, just so I can make sure I heard it correctly.
And now we've got Dad left his 15-year-old daughter strapped to tree for 3 days for wetting herself. Now let's go out to Oklahoma. This is a really bizarre case that came to unfold when a woman called the police saying that there was a 15-year-old girl strapped to a tree outside and had been there for 3 days. She said that she definitely needed some medical attention, having both a hole in her leg and lesions on her arms. She even added that she had been sneaking food out to the girl for days, and that her family was visiting from Texas, and that she didn't really know what to do about all of this. Questioning...
Man, first of all, the lady who finally called the police, thank you for calling the police, but you could have called the police a little earlier than this. You waited 3 days before you out there sneaking food to her like she a freaking dog or something. You should have been called the police. I'm glad you called the police, though, but I'm just saying, man.
Why the woman didn't call the cops at any other point during the 3 days, despite being fine with doing it now, they rushed out to the scene. They came out to the house where they saw a red shed and a chicken coop outside. Next to the coop was a rectangular piece of carpet, and on this piece of carpet was a girl leaning slumped forward with a big bandage below her knee and what they called a ratchet-style tie-down strap. This is the kind of strap that you would use to secure items in the bed of a pickup truck, and it was wrapped around her body. The cops spoke with the woman who had called. At first, she lied about who she was, saying that she didn't know anything about the girl. But eventually she opened up and admitted that she knew what was going on but was afraid of the girl's father, Johnny James. The 15-year-old girl identified the woman as who she called her Nana. The father, James, arrived home shortly after the cops arrived. He told them that he had tied her up because, quote, she cannot be trusted and likes to lie. He said that she wasn't there long, maybe for only an hour while he was gone. When they told him that they had heard she had been there for days, he said that he had tied her up on 2 separate occasions before, but never for that long. The police said, James explained the time she is left outside was to go to the store or church this morning due to her peeing and pooping herself and not wanting it inside, so they sat her outside, that way there is no mess. When James was asked, he stated that this was the only option to keep her restrained because he didn't know what else to do to help her. He said that this was all due to the girl being rebellious and wanting to live with her mother. He then told the deputies that he had realized the error of his ways and would find some other solution other than tying her up. When the police asked James' girlfriend about the girl being tied up, she told them that she was taking a shower and didn't know it was happening, saying that she didn't see her sitting outside when they left for church because she, in her words, was too frazzled. A medical team arrived and took the girl to the hospital. It was soon decided that the Department of Human Resources would take custody of her along with a number of other children who also lived in the home. The Oklahoma police arrested both James and his girlfriend shortly after. Johnny James, 40 years old, is in jail on a charge of aggravated child abuse and neglect, while his girlfriend, Kayla Cherie Clark, age 42, is facing a charge of enabling child neglect. The two were taken out to the Washington County Jail. They were each hit with a $500,000 bond. Their first court hearing is scheduled to happen fairly soon.
And good, I said it too, y'all, like good that the freaking girlfriend got locked up too. You know what I'm saying? She got some charges pending against her because you cannot tell me that you did not know that was going on. And both of them trying to make it seem like it was a couple of hours, but I do believe it was a couple of days. You know what I'm saying? I believe it was some days that this whole mess was going on. It's like, It's like the first story we watched, y'all. It's very similar to the first story with parents. Well, the first one was the foster mom, the 340-pound bitch. You know what I'm saying? The big girl. She freaking was a foster mom, but it's the same thing that they trying to justify what they doing. Oh, she was acting up. She was peeing and pooping on herself, so I decided to tie her up outside. You know what I'm saying? Like that just because she was doing that, you justified in doing what you doing. Like, come on, man. That is no way you punish a child in any of these cases, man. You treating these child like they not human beings. You treating them like animals. You tying somebody up, that's treating them like an animal, man. A slave. What the freak? Let's go. That's crazy too.
And here we have, man dies after friend bursts his rectum. This is definitely one of the weirder incidents of murder that has taken place in recent memory. It took place in India, where a 24-year-old named Yogesh and his friend Murali went over to wash a motorcycle. Murali was an employee at the place, the CNS Bike Service Center, and had access to the tools there. The two washed the bike together and began to dry it off. They started playing around with an electric blow dryer, a strong dryer that used hot, compressed air to quickly dry off the bikes. Murali, holding the tool, began to use it to mess with Yogesh, pointing it at his face and blasting him with air. Yogesh then turned around and faced the other direction. This was when Murali shoved the dryer up to his ass and blew out the air. The airflow was so strong that his rectum was filled with hot gas to the point where his entire abdomen expanded and contracted. This burst his insides. Yogesh didn't stand for more than a mere moment before he collapsed to the ground. Murali...
I just got to point out, y'all, I remember this story. I think it's from Ryan. I think it's from Ryan from Tragedy Tales where we have heard of this story. Or maybe Mr. Ballin. Could have been Mr. Ballin too. But I remember this. And it's just it is a tragedy tale, man. Just the thought of, man, I ain't going to even go into the details of that. Let's go.
And a few other friends at the service center, after noticing he was unconscious, took him out to the hospital. The doctor saw that Yogesh had suffered some very severe injuries to his intestines due to the high pressure of the air hose. He was rushed into emergency surgery. He was actually still conscious, even answering a call from his sister when she wanted to hear what was going on. However, afterwards his condition only got worse and he was transferred to a private hospital for better treatment. Yogesh didn't respond very well to the treatments and died shortly after, due to complications from a ruptured colon. Murali has since denied deliberately pushing the air hose up against Yogesh's anus, but the video makes it very clear that it was intentional. The police came out to arrest him. They told the media, "We detained Murali on Wednesday. During interrogation, Murali claimed he didn't take the pipe near Yogesh's anus. He was holding it above the knee and didn't know it would rupture his anus." With Murali being arrested, the police have opened up a case against him. They have charged him with charges related to culpable homicide. He now sits at the Bengaluru Central Prison, awaiting his fate.
And I feel like this is one of those cases where it should at least be, he should at least get charged. And if he was over in the United States, I would say, because I don't know how the whole thing is over there. But if he was in the United States and this would have happened, I would at least charge him with manslaughter. I'm not going to say murder, first degree, second degree, whatever, but at least manslaughter, man. And in a way, you could try to charge him with murder, man, because I believe... or I don't believe that he didn't know that air blower or whatever was that dangerous. You know what I'm saying? Well, you shouldn't be sticking it in certain areas. And y'all know the area I'm talking about. I ain't trying to be funny, man. I ain't trying to be funny, y'all. It's just freaking sad, man. But it's just so freaking crazy if you just really think about it. That's why I said I ain't even want to go into details earlier. But I feel like he should have known that this is not a toy and you shouldn't have been playing with it like that, man, regardless. So at least give him manslaughter. And rest in peace to the guy that died that way. That is just such a crazy, asinine way to die. Let's go. I guess it was his time. When it's your time, it's your time.
And now we have driver runs down fast food worker over missing chicken strip. Here we have another good old Missouri case, and it's one that I can definitely see happening. I mean, if someone were to have told me about this case in person, I probably wouldn't have even doubted its validity. This is the case of a woman named Talani L. Carter who decided that freaking out about her Jack-in-the-Box order would be a good choice in her life. When sitting at the drive-thru of the Central West End neighborhood of St. Louis, she gave her order. However, when she received her food, she noticed that she was short one chicken strip and missing some dipping sauce. That day, on July 16th, she returned to the restaurant to complain about her order, something many people might do. However, her next steps definitely deviated from the norm. The manager apologized and gave her the extra chicken strip. Talani noted that she wasn't only there for the chicken, she needed to be compensated with some ranch as well. The manager agreed to supply this too, but regardless, Talani flew into a rage and spit in the manager's face. As she fled the restaurant, the manager went outside through a different exit to take note of her license plate number in order to report her. Talani noticed this, ran over to the manager, and barged into her shoulder, screaming, "You're trying to put charges on me?" She then went back to her car, threw it into reverse, and rammed into the manager, hitting her left leg and knocking her down to the ground. Luckily, her license plate number was indeed taken down. Talani was arrested and charged with both second-degree assault and fourth-degree assault. She's currently being held in jail without bond, awaiting a detention hearing. Her next court date is all set to happen any day now.
Now, she just did way too much. She did the most. Y'all remember back in, like 10 years ago, it used to be popular. It used to be one of the things that people said, you're doing the most. She did the freaking most, y'all. Like, seriously. Okay, you were missing a chicken tender. The lady was nice about it. They helped you out later on. You know what I'm saying? They tried to compensate you for what you didn't get on that day, free of charge or whatever. And the first thing that just struck me more than anything is you spit in her face. I feel like spitting in somebody's face is one of the most disrespectful. I mean, it's top tier disrespectful thing that one human being can do to another one. It's spit on them. You know what I'm saying, man? And not only that, you hit her with your car and stuff. I feel like this lady just was going through some bad times in her life, and she just found this the reason for her to really spaz out, and she spazzed to freak out. And I feel like she need to do some time too. And this could have been a lot worse if she would have ended up killing that lady when she hit her with that car, would have ran over her or something. Over a freaking chicken tender? Come on, we gotta do better, my brothers and sisters. We gotta do better. Let's go.
And now we have Extreme Eater dies during live stream of 10-hour mukbang. It wasn't all too long ago that I covered the case of a woman in China who died while trying to lose weight at a fat camp. Well, this case is kind of the polar opposite to that. This is the story of Pan Xiaoting, a famous mukbang live streamer in China. If you somehow don't know what a mukbang video is, it's a video genre that originated in South Korea where someone eats an ungodly amount of food on camera. These videos usually pander to feeder fetishists who love to see someone chow down to an extreme level, or kind of the opposite, people who love food but would rather enjoy it vicariously by watching someone else eat. Given the dangerous nature of these videos, and the shame that China feels from them, the CCP went ahead and banned mukbang videos entirely. However, it wasn't long before people found some ways around this, live streaming their mukbangs instead. This is because it's much easier to find and take down uploaded videos, but it's much harder to monitor ongoing live streams. Pan was one of these people, getting around the new laws and continuing her hobby. Pan was a regular on the mukbang scene and usually garnered a lot of viewers. She was known for being extremely obese and usually eating more unhealthy types of food in extreme excess. The only problem is, when you build your whole online presence on being extreme, you're left with no choice but to somehow top the last extreme each and every time to keep your audience interested. Pan was stuck in this rut. She upped the ante by eating worse and worse food in higher and higher amounts and for even longer periods of time. This was when she decided to eat in such a way for 10 hours straight with no breaks on July 14th. She decided to feast on cake, chicken fingers, and seafood. There on camera, she suddenly collapsed and remained unresponsive. Her viewers tried to get help for her remotely, but it was too late. Little did they know, Pan had just recently been hospitalized for stomach bleeding after another extreme eating binge. It isn't known when exactly she was discharged, but she quickly went back to streaming shortly after. Medical examiners performed an autopsy showing that her stomach was severely deformed and filled with loads of completely undigested food. It became clear that her stomach had burst, leading to the acid leaking out into her organs as she continued to eat, with the new food having no way to be digested. This combination is what led to her death. With mukbang videos being fairly popular in the West as well, doctors are trying to warn people of the dangers of the practice. YouTube has even begun to demonetize a lot of mukbang-related content in order to distance themselves from what many people have called supportive eating disorders.
And I agree with YouTube on that one. Demonetize that ish, man. No, man, we can't have people out here freaking eating themselves to death like she literally did, man. Like, it's just dangerous. She ate so much till her stomach burst. You don't hear that every day. Y'all see why I love Dial Trip. Y'all see why I love this series when he do the strange and dark cases, man. He tell you some of the craziest ish ever, my brothers and sisters. But seriously, man, yes, YouTube, don't even let them bring that mukbang craziness over here. No, we don't need that. And I'm not even, rest in peace to her, I will say that, but I'm not trying to get on her or just talk about her, but I'm just talking about in general. This just one of those cases that just show you that a lot of people out here in the social media world would do anything to either get famous or make money or whatever, you know what I'm saying, to go viral, to blow up, you know what I'm saying, to get their name out there. They would do anything, even if that thing is pretty much jeopardizing their life. And I think that was an example of it. Rest in peace to her, though. Let's go, y'all. I think we still got 4 more to go. Let's go.
Now get ready for teen bestiality suspect bullied in jail with donkey sounds. Out in Georgia, an 18-year-old man named Jason Weir was literally caught with his pants down when his own family came home to see him in their yard attempting to copulate with their male Great Dane. They first became suspicious when he insisted on taking the dog for a walk, something he rarely ever did and didn't come back for an odd amount of time. When they found him, Jason came up with a convoluted explanation, saying that he was trying to pee when the dog backed into him and tried to knock him down. His own father and sister were pretty fed up with him because, as it turns out, he had taken a donkey into the Bone Zone not too long prior. They called the cops themselves, telling them he's 18 and should know better, kind of implying that this was something that he had done in his youth that they hoped he would grow out of. Jason was thrown into jail on a felony animal sexual abuse charge. After about 2 months, the other inmates came to learn of the reason as to why he was in their fine establishment. The others in the Monroe County jailhouse began to pick on Jason, laughing at him and making erotic moans and donkey noises. Jason went into an outburst and freaked out, following one of the other inmates back into his cell and punching him in the eye and in the ear, saying that he was greatly offended by the sensual donkey moans. The inmate didn't really fight back and doesn't seem to have been seriously hurt. Regardless, you aren't really allowed to hit people, so Jason was hit with another charge of misdemeanor battery. He's been in jail since May 27th, and now it's looking like he's only going to be there that much longer.
Man, that little boy, well, he not a little boy. He just looked like a little boy in one of them pictures that Dial Trip was showing, Kyle was showing. But that man need to get some help. I feel like he one of those ones that really need to get some help out here, my brothers and sisters. And I'm finna tell y'all something, man, and close your ears if you don't want to hear this, but I just be telling y'all stories about things that I have experienced in my life and some crazy things. And one thing that I just thought about, and it's just gonna be a long story, short story long, real quick. Not gonna go into no graphic details or nothing. But this whole bestiality thing is real, y'all. It is freaking real. And let's go all the way back. We in 2024. I think this happened maybe like, man, this had to be like 2004, 2005, maybe 2006. I was a young teenager. And this was back when people used to want to, and people still do it now, but it was different back then. People like this when we first realized that we ain't got to go to the movies to watch actual movies that was coming out, a movie that had came out in the theaters. We can find a website and go on that, or we can download it from LimeWire, or I can't remember the other ones, Keys Video or Keys or something. For y'all that know y'all know what I'm talking about, man. But you had these different ways. This back in the era of people downloading music and then burning it to a CD. I used to burn music and get paid for it at school. I used to burn people music. That's a whole other story, man. But it was this one website. I don't remember the movie, but it was me and my sister. We was trying to download this specific movie. But a lot of times when you download that ish, it would be fake. It would be something else. Also viruses. We learned it the hard way. But a lot of times it wouldn't be that actual movie. It'll be something else. And long story short, short story long, even though I already made the story long, even though I'm trying to talk fast, is that I can't remember the movie me and my sister were trying to download, but the movie was out in the theaters. We were trying to download it on our computer and watch it. And instead of it being the movie, even though it said the title of the movie and all that, it was a video, and I'm not finna go into no detail. I'm not going into no detail. All I'm gonna say is it was a video of a dog and a woman, and they was doing something. Long story short, short story long, man. Let's go.
This one is titled, Florida Woman Arrested After Drowning Her Roommate's Pet Spider in Ginger Ale. And here we are again with the essential Florida story, this time graced with the presence of none other than Florida Woman. This incident occurred in a city called Crestview, on Pansy Avenue to be specific. This is where a 41-year-old woman named Elena Renee Rasmussen decided to take her roommate's $70 jumping spider and drowned it in ginger ale for some reason. The roommate came home on July 15th, wondering where the spider might be. Both the spider and its entire enclosure were missing. She reached out to her roommate to ask her if she knew anything. Elena then texted her back and frankly admitted to throwing the whole thing into some ginger ale for reasons that are still unclear. The roommate then called the police, who came out and arrested Elena. She was charged with petite theft in the second degree and animal cruelty that torments, deprives, mutilates, or kills any animal. This was a spider, which normally wouldn't really have been a legal matter, but being a purchased pet changes matters. After being arrested, Elena readily admitted to what she had done. Elena was a repeat offender, although she was usually hit with charges like battery and driving under the influence in the past. She doesn't have a lawyer, so it's likely she'll have one appointed to her before her hearing. For the time being, she has been released on bond.
That one just freaking weird. That's so freaking weird. And it's like, I ain't gonna say we kill spiders every day, but we have killed a lot of spiders in our lives. Long story short, short long, Bean Team. Tell the truth. If you see a goddamn spider crawling on your floor right now, either you gonna jump and run and tell somebody else to go kill it, or you gonna get that shoe or find the closest thing you can to kill it. So we kill spiders, but the thing that changed it is that was her pet spider. So I do feel like she need to be charged with something, not even just the theft part. I do feel like she need to be charged with animal cruelty because that was somebody's freaking pet. Regardless, you know what I'm saying? If a person purchases a freaking cockroach and says they pet and you smash it, yo ass, I'm just saying, man, y'all get what I'm saying? So, it's just, that one is weird. And it's like, why did you even do that? Why? There's a lot of whys in this freaking video that we watching, y'all. The whole goddamn alphabet is full of whys right now.
And here's a good bonus. Neuralink employee was scratched by monkeys infected with herpes and fired after getting pregnant. Here we have one of those good old cases that isn't necessarily a crime, but is a strange lawsuit, so I'm going to include it anyway. I will admit that I basically did pick this one for the headline alone, because it is very confusing until you actually sit down and dissect it a bit. It seems that a former employee at Elon Musk's brain chip company called Neuralink had a bit of a struggle with a monkey. Lindsay Short, who was employed there as an animal care specialist, said that she was never provided with the right kind of protective gear while dealing with the monkeys. This is why one of them was able to reach out and scratch her right across her face. Unfortunately, this monkey also had the herpes B virus, a pretty dangerous virus that can cause severe brain damage and even death. The lawsuit says that Neuralink has a fairly hostile work environment that had both unrealistic deadlines and severe shaming and bullying of employees. When Lindsay went to get medical attention for her monkey scratch, she was told by her work superiors that she would face severe repercussions if she ever did anything like that again. In addition to the monkey business, she was also promised that they would give her more flexible working hours after she gave birth, something they failed to ever do. She then filed a lawsuit, and her boss retaliated by demoting her, citing poor work performance. Lindsay went to HR, saying that her superiors would often mention that they hated children and that having children would be a mistake as it would only get in the way of their careers. It was only one day after that she was fired, only being told that it was due to performance issues. She is now suing Neuralink for retaliation, wrongful termination, gender discrimination, and a whole slew of more minor accusations. Once
That's one of them ones that just all mumbled up. It's a lot of mumbo jumbo up in that one, but I feel like she right for suing them. You know what I'm saying, man? It's just like, dude, I got scratched by the freaking monkey, and the monkey gave me a terrible, terrible, life-threatening disease. I don't know. That man, goddamn, Kyle, all these crazy ass stories.
again, thank you for watching my video. If you found it interesting, please give it a like as it really helps me out in the algorithm, and feel free to subscribe if you want to see more content like this. Just recently, I've started up a podcast with 4 of my friends called the NBR Podcast. If you find this channel interesting, I think you might like that one too. I've also opened up a merch store. There you can get yourself some cool Dire Trip t-shirts. Link in the description below. If you want, go ahead and follow me on social media, as if anything were to...
That's the end, y'all. That's the end, man. I was trying to see if Kyle was gonna say anything else about the videos that he covered, but Jesus freaking Christ, y'all. This one was so wild. Like, it was here, there, and every freaking where, man. What the freak? I'm not gonna go back through them, y'all, because if I go back through them, it was 11 cases, and I'll go back through them. We're gonna be here probably for another 30 minutes to an hour, my brothers and sisters. I just really want to point out them cases where the freaking parents or the guardians or whatever was trying to blame the kids for their craziness. You know what I'm saying? The little girl who was peeing or pooping on herself, whatever, getting tied up outside for 3 days. And it's crazy that the lady who finally called the police, you waited 3 days to call them. Not finna go into details. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Or the first one, man, with the lady who was the 340-pound fat ass lady who pretty much suffocated the little 9-year-old 90-pound boy to get death, like, and try to justify it by saying that he wasn't listening to me. That don't mean you gotta do that, mother. Like, what the freak, man? It's so many up in here, y'all. It is so many freaking cases on this one, man. It just got my freaking mind blown, man. But I'm not finna go into any more, y'all. I think I have said enough already about them, and I'm gonna let y'all go. And I appreciate y'all coming on back as always. And I digress. Before y'all leave, just please hit that like button, comment, subscribe, and do all that if you ain't did that yet. And come on back tomorrow. I don't know if we going back to the Coffee Man, or we might go on ahead and go to AJ from the White Files. I don't know, y'all. I don't know. But like I say, best believe we gonna go. And until then, my friends, also remember this: love, peace, and happiness. Stay safe. Don't stop. Keep going. Yeah.